Assalamualaikum, good morning. Welcome to the second part of the Breakfast at UMHealth. My name is Salleh and I'm very happy to be the moderator for this second session. Our next speaker, Dr. Cheng, is an Associate Professor of Occupational and Public Health, Department of Social and Preventive Medicine. Dr. Lim's main successful project as a principal investigator was the development of a respirator fits test panel in 2022. And the project worth more than USD 85,000, equivalent to 345,000 ringgit Malaysia, which comprised 4,000 participants from all over Malaysia, with more than 50 research assistants helping him with data collection. This study aimed to produce suitable respirators N95 that fit the Malaysian population, and this project resulted in the publication of 4 ISI Q1 and Q2 papers. The papers were presented during the 34th International Commission on Occupational Health, Congress 2024, where he was the second Malaysian recipient honored with the International Commission on Occupational Health International Labour Organization ILO Master Fellowship Award 2024. His topic today is the development of respiratory fits test panel for Malaysians. The floor is yours, Dr. Lim.
Thank you, Dr. Afiqah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for the kind introductions. The topics for my presentation today is focusing on the development of respirator fit test panel representing population of Malaysia. So for this presentation, I'm going to divide into two parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about the PPE, the types of PPE, focusing on the respiratory PPE, the usage, and what the thing to be considered before we are using the respirator, focusing on N95, perhaps for the healthcare workers. Then second, I'm going to talk about the projects that I'm doing, as had mentioned by Dr. Afiqah. Then why this project was started. Actually, the main reason behind that was that during the early pandemics, there was somewhere in March 2021, we noticed that...
Sorry, Dr. Lim. I'm going to pause you right there. I'm seeing your notes on the right slide. It's not the full version of the slides. Would you be able to make it into a presenter?
This one?
Maybe not the usual presenter slide, I feel.
How about now?
Yes, this is so much better.
Okay. So, sorry. Okay. So this project was started in 2021, whereby we noticed that the numbers of healthcare workers infected with COVID-19 is so high. There was some, it's more than about 34%. And that's the reason why we're asking for them to go for the fit testing. And we noticed that more than 30% of them didn't go through the fit test. So, so that's the reason why we're asking for, why don't we look into this, and we conduct a research review, and we found that the possibility is that the mask that is being used by our healthcare workers is not suitable for them. So then we asked for the grant from the Ministry of Health, and we got about 300K, and this study to be done throughout Malaysia. So this will be the outline for my presentation. I'm going to talk about the justification of this study and the objective. The objective of this study, or the objective of this project, are divided into three. First is that we want to validate the methods that are being used. If possible, we want to replace direct measurement, meaning that the measurement of facial and head dimension, replacing it by using a 2D photogrammetry, because this will be even more faster and it's more convenient to be used. Then second objective is that we want to create, or we want to measure the head and facial morphological the dimension in order for us to come up with a database. And based on the dimension, we want to develop the facial panel or the head panels. So in here, you can see that there are two panels. First is a bivariate panels based on 2 dimensions. And second is a PCA panel. PCA panel stands for Principal Component Analysis Panel, based on 10 dimensions. So I'm going to discuss on this later, what the difference between our panels and the panels that have been developed by US and by the China populations. Next, I'm going to talk about the methodology that being used in this study, the results, and the discussions. So for introductions, why these facials or head anthropometric measurement is important. It's important mainly in the design for the helmets, for the respirators, for the goggles, for the frame, for the glasses, for surgery, includes the plastic or reconstructive surgery or for dental procedure. So PPE is important in order for us to be protected against particulates. Particulates includes the dust, the fibers, the fumes, aerosol, or droplets. This is particularly important during the COVID times because we know COVID can be spread either through the aerosol or through the droplets. Next is that respiratory PPE also can protect us against vapors, mist, gases, or sometimes even during when there's a condition or situation when there's an oxygen deficiency. So for your information, vapors mean is a gas form of substance which is liquid at normal temperature. So from here you can see that the mask, we call that the mask with valve, particulate mask on the top left, and the one below is the foldable N95, and the one next to it is a medical mask, and the other three are the half face and full face respirator. So half face is mainly to protect us from inhalation, and for the full face, it will protect the nose and protect the eye together. So these are the types of cartridge that can be used together with the PPE. So this is mainly to protect us from being exposed to the chemicals or from the gases. So you can see that there are different types of cartridge are there. For the cartridge to prevent us from inhalation of ammonia, from the acid, from formaldehyde, from the gases, from the mercury, and from the acid gas. So I think most of us are quite familiar with this. This is especially on particulate respirator. These are the respirator without the cartridge. So for the respirator without the cartridge, we can divide into whether it's, let's say we talk about 95, it can be N95, R95, or P95. N stands for non-oil resistant. This is, we use it in healthcare setting because we are not exposed to oil. So it can be N95, N99, or N95, N99, or N100s. For R means resistant to oil. It can be R95, R99, or R100 as well. This is useful when there's oil present at the workplace. The example, the oil could be the lubricants, cutting fluids, or glycerins. So for the P stands for proof. It can be the oil proof. It can be P95, P99, or P100s. So P95 or P99 or P100 is used when the workers are exposed to oil for more than one work shift. So you have to go for P95 rather than R95. So the main issues are what are the things that to be considered when we are using the respiratory PPE is that we need to select the right PPE for the type of hazard. As I mentioned to you, whether the hazards with the cartridge or without cartridge. With the cartridge is mainly for the gases or for the vapors or for the mist. And the other one is without the cartridge is mainly for a particulate. We call it a particulate PPE. So the other thing is that the PPE also can be divided into whether it's half face or full face. It depends whether we want to cover the eye or without the eye. So next is that we need to do the fit test to ensure the fitness for the user. And next, the other thing that we need to consider is medical checkups, whether the workers or the user are suitable to put on PPE. Those people with COPD, asthma, pulmonary fibrosis, perhaps we need to do further evaluation, whether they are indicated or whether they are suitable to be given PPE. Training and then fit check had to be done before every single usage. And lastly is focusing on the storage and discarding. So these are the fit test. This I mentioned to you about fit test. You can see that the fit test on the left is a qualitative fit test. On the right is a quantitative fit test. So qualitative fit test, we are asking the worker to taste or to smell whether the chemical that is being spilled or being sprayed into the cupboard. So let's say the worker is able to smell it, meaning that there's some leakage or the N95 is not good enough to protect the workers. And on the right is mainly the quantitative fit test. Quantitative fit test can measure the precise amount of leakage using the machine we call a Porter count. So it's an objective method to measure how well the fitting of the respirator against the face by providing a numerical values known as fit factors. So for your information, the fit factors for N95, normally we put is 100. Anything below 100 considered as not fit. So this, beside fit test, next the fit check. Fit check had to be done before the usage of PPE, before the usage. So you can see that on the left is mainly on negative pressure, and on the right is positive pressure. Negative pressure, how we ask the workers to do is that we ask them to inhale sharply. So what we hope to see is that the mask should collapse slightly, indicating that the ceiling is tight. So on the right is mainly for positive pressure. So how we instruct the worker is that we ask them to exhale gently, so the mask should bow slightly without air leaking out around the edges. So the rationale. So now I'm going to focus on my projects. What we know is that the masks that we are using, N95, N99, are mainly based on the dimension for American and Chinese populations. So we are thinking that it's good for us to come up with our own respirator based on our own dimensions. So I mentioned to you, the first objective is that we want to see the technique that we're using is accurate. We want to replace direct measurement using calipers by using 2D photogrammetry. And second is that we want to measure 10 facial dimension. And lastly, we want to come up with the panels. There are two panels, bivariates and PCA panels. So there are altogether 4 papers being published within that 2 years after data collections. The first 2 papers is in Frontier. Then the third paper is mainly we have developed our own fit test panel. Now this is paper number 3 in BMC Pulmonary Medicine, and the last paper is mainly focusing on the design and look into whether gender and facial dimension will affect it. I'm going to discuss 1, 2, and 3 only for today. So this is how the study being conducted. It's a cross-sectional study, and the sampling method is a multi-stage random sampling, whether the first stage is all the state in Malaysia, 13 states plus 3 federal territory. And the second stratum is we divide the state into whether it's a rural or urban localities. So the sampling frame for this study is that we get it from the National Population and Housing Census provided by DOSM. It was conducted all over Malaysia, and we complete the data collection within 4 months, and we are using complex sample analysis. In total, we got about 3,300 participants. So these are 10 facial dimensions that we measure. On the anterior view, there are 7 dimensions, and on the lateral view, there are 3 dimensions. So perhaps I just focus on the lateral view. You can see that there's nose length, nose protrusion, and face length. Face length, the distance between the menton and cilium. So for this study, for the bivariate panel, we are looking into the face width and the face width. So this is the photo that was taken during the training for our RA, because we got about 30 RA before they are being deployed to 13 states and 3 territory. We train them how to collect the 2D photogrammetry, 2D images, so that we can replace it, so that we can use that for our study. So this is another example. The photo that we are taken being entered into the software. The software we call it a digitimizer. So based on that, it will come up with a dimension according to the ratio. And this is the result for the aim number 1. We want to see whether the 2D photogrammetry can replace direct measurements. So based on this result, we notice that the bigonial breath, the diagram on the left, in the middle is a bizygomatic breath, and the head breath cannot be measured reliably and accurately using the 2D. So based on this finding, these 3 dimensions will be measured using calipers, and another 7 are measured using the 2D photogrammetry. For those of you who are interested, you can look into the papers. The details are there. I just summarized what have been written there. Then for aim 2, we are measuring, or we are collecting the facial and the head dimensions. There are in total 10 dimensions. So I compare between male and females, Malay, non-Malay, and the dimension between West and East Malaysia. Besides that, we also compare our dimension with the population in United States and China. So what we found, point number one, is that we found that our population, Malaysian population, had a wider interpupillary distance. The first diagram on top, and we're also having a what I call a wider nose breadth for both male and female as compared to the population in United States and in China. Then point number two, we found that our population had smaller bigonial breadth, the bottom on the left, and smaller minimal frontal breadth as compared to the population in United States and China. So this will be the result for the last objective, whereby we want to come up with our own panel. So this is the first panel that we developed. We call it a bivariate panel. So you can see that there are in total at the bottom there, you can see that there are 4 different panels. Cheng et al. Is from Taiwan, Lin et al. From China, Najos is from US, and this study, the arrow show our dimension, the bivariate panel for Malaysian. So you can see that in number 3, our local panels has a limit of 113.5 to 164.5 mm for the face width and 96.5 to 138.5 mm for the face length. So what can we conclude is that our face are wider as compared to the other 3 populations, and we are longer as compared to the other 3 populations. So based on this panel, right, we're able to fit up to 95% to our populations. If we are using the NIOSH panel, our Malaysian dimension only able to fit up to 89%, and if we are using China panel, we only able to fit up to 77.5%, and Taiwan is the lowest. We only can fit up to 61%. That's the reason why we need to come up with our own panel, because the other 3 panels that have been developed is not fit to Malaysians. So next, this is the second panel that I mentioned to you just now, is on PCA panel. PCA stands for Principal Component Analysis Panel. So you can see that there are PC1, x-axis, and PC2, y-axis. PC1 represent the facial size, and PC2 represent the facial shape. So we are using the method of factor analysis, whereby we classify that 10 dimension into 2 groups. So based on factor analysis, we classify it, and what we notice, PC1 stands for size and PC2 stands for the shapes. So here in the diagram, you can see there's an inner and outer eclipse. In the inner eclipse, there are 4 quadrants, and the outer eclipse, there are 4 quadrants as well. So in total, there are 8 quadrants. And what you can see is that in the middle is a median size, and so we can divide into whether the size is small, large, long, narrow, or short, wide, or medium size. So you can see that most of the population is populated in the medium size. And the other thing is that male has larger size as compared to female. So the findings from entry is that we have the widest face as compared to others. And based on this panel, we can accommodate up to 95% to the local populations. And this is for 95%, for the 95% for the PCA panels. And the other thing is that if we are using the NIOSH panel, it only can fit up to 92.6%. So the strength of this study, right? This is the first large nationwide study on head and facial anthropometry. So we have got one of the biggest numbers in terms of participants. We have 3,300 participants. And the second strength is that we are using complex analysis with weighted samples. So this is important in the sense that whereby the smaller state is given smaller weight and the larger state is given bigger weights. So this is to ensure the result represent the distribution of the population in Malaysia. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Lim, for your presentation. Very impactful study. But for the interest of time, we might want to limit the questions, but audience, you are free to reach out to Prof. Lim himself for clarification in case you need any. One question for you, Lim. Wondering about the findings of the study, if it's being used by any local companies to produce respirators?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Dr. Ika. Actually, for this study, we have been in discussion with 3Ms and few other local companies, because what we hope is that the findings from this study can be used to design the mask that is suitable for Malaysian rather than depending on the mask that being designed based on the dimension from US or China population or Korean population, which is not that suitable for us. So that's the whole aim of this study.
Okay. Actually, we do have some questions coming in the chat box. Let me read out for you. So one of the questions is asking, the Indians tend to have more Caucasian features. So how representative are they of our Malaysian features? And also, have you looked at the results within the Indian population, taken out to see what your results tend towards?
Yes, Prof. Chan, thank you for your questions. Actually, I agree with you. Indians tend to have more Caucasian features, and we do look into this in our subgroup analysis because we divide it according to racial as well: Malay, non-Malay, Malay Chinese Indians, Malay Chinese Indian, and the Bumiputra in Sabah and Sarawak. We look into that, and the thing is that our aim is that we want to come up with the population that representing Malaysian rather than representing according to racial. We do have this data, but the thing is that whether we want to come up with different type of masks, meaning that not to say different type of masks, let's say for Chinese, but they need to go for another type of mask, and for Indian, different type of mask. So this is something that we should look into as well. And we did make the comparison between racial, and the thing is that actually the differences are not so much if we compare between what I call as Malay and non-Malay. The differences are not so much, only on certain facial dimension, but the panels still the same.
Right. Thank you, Lim. So the other comment is more of a comment related question. So we got people saying congratulations on getting this big grant for such a huge and complex yet useful study, and I fully echo with this. I don't think it's a really short process, and the entire study, I would assume, is very, very tedious, but yet you managed to come up with a good one.
Thank you, Prof.
I think we are almost reaching towards the end of the session, and I would like to thank every audience, everyone attending this session, for staying with us until the end of the show. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prof. Lim.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ika.